Welcome to the Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another off-season edition of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, here with Jay Dash. The Pittsburgh Steelers almost made the Super Bowl last year, got beat by the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. They're going to have to regroup a little bit and rebound this year if they want to get that far again. Roethlisberger has hinted at retirement, although we both agree that isn't going to happen. But the Steelers are going to have to do a few things this offseason to be able to get past a team like New England. We're going to bring you 5 questions the Steelers will face this offseason. Dash, are you ready?
I am ready.
Now, everybody knows the Steelers are going to give an extension to Antonio Brown, and they're going to re-sign Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon is a free agent. The Steelers let him go to free agency instead of picking up his last year of his option, I believe. There's widespread rumors that the Steelers are going to use the franchise tag on Bell and then work out a long-term deal from there. I've read reports that said the franchise tag could be upwards of $11.9 million. That will not change even if Adrian Peterson is released. There were reports earlier in the week that if the Vikings released Peterson, that number would drop. It's actually an average over the last 5 years. So even if he gets cut now, that's not going to affect the tag. So at $11.9 million, if he doesn't sign a one-year deal, is what we will be paying him for one season of football. Now, the question I have for you, Dash, is if the Steelers use the exclusive franchise tag on Bell and another team, a crappy team most likely, would
most likely, or the
try
Patriots,
to sign him to an offer sheet. Well, because if it was a good team, this would make no sense because you're not getting a good enough return for it.
Right.
So it would have to be a team that would end up being at the bottom of the league, so the top of the draft. So if a crappy team signs Le'Veon to an offer sheet, if you're the Steelers, do you let them take Le'Veon from you, considering you will get this year's and next year's first-round pick from that team? So that would give Pittsburgh 2 first-round picks this year, 2 first-round picks next year, and in the holy grail of finding a quarterback here in the city of Pittsburgh, which everybody says they need a backup to win a Super Bowl, don't get how that works. Would you do that? Would you let Le'Veon walk for 2 first-round picks, or do you just sign him to a long-term deal?
Well, first you got to guarantee that the team is going to suck this year as well. So it got to be someone like the Browns, correct? I mean, it can't be a team like, I don't know, maybe even San Diego could have a solid season. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. It would have to be a really bad team. Somebody you know who's going to be ending up at the bottom, and you would be drafting in the top 10 of the draft. And that's hard to figure out. This year it's easy to figure out because the draft order's set. But as far as next year's pick, that's where the challenge would be.
Right. And even if it was the Browns, let's say the Browns wanted to bring him in. Do they have the first pick this year? I think so, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, let's say it's them, and they're probably going to have a top 3 pick next season. I still wouldn't do it, man. I mean, you're obviously going to have to use one of those picks on a running back, or you're going to have to sign a running back big anyways, correct?
Yes.
So I'm guessing they would use one of those picks, probably this year's pick on a running back in the first round, and then, yeah, you have an extra pick next season in the first round, and a lot of people would think that would be for a quarterback for Big Ben's replacement. But there's always the possibility these guys don't work out as well. So you're really basing it on one pick, because the pick you're going to take a running back with, there's no chance in hell that he's going to be as good as Le'Veon Bell. I mean, the chances are probably 0.0001 that he's as good as Le'Veon Bell. So you're already downgrading there. And then you got one pick that you have to really do something with, or else the whole deal doesn't work out. Now, you are going to save some money, obviously, because you're going to have a bunch of rookies instead of Le'Veon Bell's big contract, but I still don't think it's a good idea.
I agree. I think the Steelers are too close to being a Super Bowl contender or winning a Super Bowl, however you want to look at it. I think maybe if the Steelers were a bad team, I might think about it. It doesn't mean I would do it. Like you said, Le'Veon Bell, by far the best running back in the league. So anybody you draft is going to be, a lesser value there at the running back position. The only upside that would come out of a deal of this such would be the potential replacement for Ben Roethlisberger. But again, like you said, you never know with draft picks. I mean, and every team says this every year, so you could look at it from either side of the book. but you don't know what these rookies are going to do. You could take a quarterback first overall. Say somehow we did do it with the Browns, and the Browns stink so bad we get the first pick this year and end up with the first pick next year. That
Those
doesn't
are
mean the
contracts you
quarterback
don't even want to sign these players to anyways. I know there's a rookie contracts now and everything, but you still don't want to sign those first overall picks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's too risky for a team that is as close as it is. If Pittsburgh was terrible, again, like I said, I would think about it because you could add a lot of depth to the team by adding, 2 extra first round picks over the next 2 years. But with Pittsburgh being so close and Le'Veon being the only running back that really did anything last year. I know D'Angelo did a little bit when he was in, but he was hurt most of the year. Bell's a workhorse back. He's a guy that can carry this offense. He proved it. He probably would have got MVP votes had he played the entire season and not have been suspended the first 3 games. So I don't ever let an MVP caliber player walk away. I mean, you would have to literally offer me like your next 4 first round draft picks for this to happen.
Cleveland did it in Draft Day. Is that what it was called? What was that movie called, Draft Day?
Yeah, Kevin Costner. He's the worst GM than what they actually have in Cleveland.
Oh, he pulled it off in the end, though. He got all his players back and some kick returner he liked.
Hey, got to get that kick returner.
Oh, yeah, he's a beast, man. Kevin Costner. I mean, he builds things and people come to it.
All right, next question for you. Leading into this one a little bit, will the Steelers draft Ben's replacement this year? A lot of clamor saying Landry Jones is terrible. I know neither one of us quite like Landry, but we both also understand the business side of football and understand contracts and understand that the Steelers value his knowledge of the offense. You could not just put a rookie quarterback in as backup and be, oh, this is better than Landry Jones if Big Ben gets hurt for a long period of time. No, that's wrong. I'm sorry. You have to know the offense. There are exceptions to the rule. Don't get me wrong. A Dak Prescott, Ben Roethlisberger himself went on, won 13 games his rookie year. But those are the exceptions, not the rule. So do you think the Steelers use a draft pick this year to take a quarterback?
You can never rule it out, I guess. And, I mean, really, you think about it, now would be a good time if you could guarantee Ben's only going to play 3 more seasons. You could wait 1 season, and that might even be a little bit better. But what did Aaron Rodgers do? I think he sat for 3 seasons behind Favre before he took the reins of that offense, correct?
Yeah, it was 3 or 4 years.
So, I mean, it's not a terrible idea, but then at that point, you're going to be signing the guy to a new contract by the time he does take over as well. So I would say no at this point, unless they think they have a guy in mind that's 3rd, 4th round that people don't really see the same way they do and that he could be Ben's replacement. I don't think they're going to be using a 1st or 2nd round pick on one, though.
Yeah, I honestly don't think that they're going to take a quarterback anywhere along the line. Like you said, they could find somebody could slide that they really like that they didn't expect to be there. Yes, that's totally possible. But outside of that, I think the team needs depth in too many places. And, like we said a couple minutes ago, they're so close to being a Super Bowl contender that they could get that depth in this draft and make it that giant step this year. I almost think fear of being chastised by fans, it's a waste of a pick to take a quarterback this year. I think the team's too close and has some needs in other places. Yes, the future does exist. Yes, I am worried about the future. But I'm more worried about winning right now with the team that they have right now. You can't just give up and be like, oh, let's just draft a quarterback in the 1st round and not add anybody to help this team out. Because they're not going to play for at least 3 years. Like you said, they're going to sit behind Roethlisberger. So what would be the point in taking a high draft pick this year? I don't even think they take a low draft pick on one, honestly. I think, if anything, they'll roll with Ben, Landry, and Mettenberger again.
Well, you're right. They do have some other needs, but I tell you what, when you look back in the past, this year is really a season where they are set up better than they usually are, where there's nothing that they have to draft this season. They have their team set up for next season. So if you look at it that way, this could be a good season to draft a quarterback. Let's say you find out Ladarius Green's going to be healthy. Martavis Bryant's going to come back. Really, there's no big holes going into next season. Now, I'd like an outside linebacker to replace Harrison, someone that you can get in there a little bit slowly with Harrison playing as well. But there's nothing that they really have to do this season. So in that way, it could be a good year to draft a quarterback, but I still don't see it happening because sitting 3 years is tough.
Now, what about the wide receiver position? The offense struggled a little bit to score points this year because we had nobody elite, I guess, dependable, however you want to say it, across from Antonio Brown. Eli Rogers had a pretty decent season for a young guy. DeMarcus Ayers came on a little bit at the end of the year. Sammy Coates was great for 5 games and terrible for the rest of the season. Question marks surrounding Martavis Bryant. Marcus Wheaton went on IR. He's a free agent. Eli Rogers, I think, had the second most receptions on the team as far as wide receivers go. I know Le'Veon Bell was probably actually second. Kobe Hamilton, these guys, they're not great receivers outside of Martavis Bryant and Antonio Brown. So do you think the Steelers will draft a wide receiver within the first 3 rounds this year, or do you think that they have some confidence that Martavis Bryant can get his act together?
I think they're relying on Martavis Bryant this season. I think they do believe that they're going to have him back, and it's going to be Brown and Martavis Bryant as the 1 and 2. And then you got Eli Rogers in the slot and DeMarcus Ayers as your number 4. I still think they like what they see out of him, obviously. They already signed Kobe Hamilton, but it wasn't really a big deal, so they could cut him, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. So there's a possibility because I don't think they're bringing Hayward Bay back. I don't think they're bringing Wheaton back. Who else is out there? I think there was one other guy at some point. Well, Sammy Coates, obviously, but you said his hand was mangled.
Yeah, I'm hearing it looks like an offensive lineman stomped on his hand. It's so bad, and he did not actually have hand surgery, as earlier reported in the offseason. So, I mean, I don't know. People just recently, the last few days, people have written some articles that say they don't know if his hand's ever going to be normal again.
So they have a lot of receivers. Now, they don't have a lot of stud receivers, and you can always get better, obviously. You could draft someone that could take Eli Rogers' place, and I don't think you could really be mad at that, could you? But I think they also believe in a strategy of finding good receivers in late rounds as well. So I'll say they stay away from the wide receiver in the first couple rounds. I think they could use pick on a wide receiver a little bit later in the draft, and who knows, maybe find someone that can step in there at some point during the season into that number 3 role. But I can't see him using a high pick on him. They have so many receivers right now. Like I said, I mean, you can always upgrade, and it's not like Eli Rogers and DeMarcus Ayers blew up or anything or look like they're going to blow up anytime soon. But I do like them both. So there's 4 there, and they already signed Kobe Hamilton. He isn't terrible. You still got Sammy Coates. Something could happen where he does come back. Who knows? So there's a lot of questions still. The only way I could see it changing is if you heard Martavis Bryant failed a drug test or something, and you knew he was going to be out again, or they decide that they're going to move on without him. Then I could see it happening. But besides that, I don't think so.
Let's move to the other side of the ball. The Steelers' defense improved this season compared to the last 2 years, especially in the passing game. Sean Davis found his spot at safety opposite Mike Mitchell. Artie Burns settled into that starting role, relieving Willie Gay of that position and bumping Willie Gay to the slot. And I also heard that Willie Gay could be a cap casualty, which I don't know if I agree with that because they're $30-something million under the cap, so I don't really see them needing to make moves to make cap room. So if they think Willie Gay can be an effective slot corner, I expect him to be back next season. All that said, do you think the Steelers should count on the wild card Senquez Golson to be healthy and actually able to play next year? Even if healthy, this guy hasn't played a down of football in 2 years. Can he be effective? Can he be a contributor to this defense?
He can. It's still a question of whether he's going to be or not, but I do believe they are relying on him in some way to come back. they want to get him involved, definitely. And if he comes back and early in camp or whatever shows he can keep up with the offense out there, then I see no reason why he wouldn't be playing next season. I do believe they are counting on him, and I could see him overtaking Willie Gay. Willie Gay didn't have that great of a season. He wasn't horrible or anything, but he's been better in the past, so I could definitely see Senquez, Golson, if he can stay healthy, finding a serious role in that defense this season. I want him to.
I agree. I think it would be great to get another young guy in there moving. I have read some comments from Kevin Colbert, the Steelers GM, that says I don't remember exactly, so I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically is saying they're not counting on him per se, as they're like thinking, oh, he's going to come in for sure and change his defense, and that knowing he's still on the roster, they won't shy away from taking a cornerback, defensive back, whatever position back there, early in the draft, late in the draft, wherever they feel need. But they do think that this guy can still play. They had a lot of faith in him when they took him with like the 53rd pick overall, something like that. So the guy was a baller coming in, and I think they hope that they can get something out of him, but I'm not sure if they're exactly counting on it just because of the fact that he's been out so long. The good news is he's been in meetings, he's had the playbook, he hasn't had to miss any of that. So knowing the defense shouldn't be a problem for him as long as he's been paying attention and studying. It's just out there moving around, getting in the flow of football again after 2 years off. But we've seen players do it before.
Well, like I said earlier, this is a season where they really don't have any glaring needs. So don't shy away from cornerback. I don't want to see them shy away from any position on the defense going into the draft. I think if the best player plays any position on that defense, I would draft them.
Well, that leads us into our last question. You say the Steelers have no glaring needs this year going into the offseason. What position do you think the team will address with their first pick in the draft?
Well, I say they go defense. Although I hear if that tight end, that Alabama tight end, what's his name?
I'm not sure. I've shied away from the tight ends because I don't believe they're going to waste a first-round pick on a tight end after reading the comments I read about Ladarius Green. The team fully expects him to be back in 2017.
I can't think of his name right now. O.J. Howard from Alabama. That's his name. But, yeah, I mean, I still have big questions about Ladarius Green. I don't know what you read. I didn't read it. I didn't hear anything, so I'm not quite sure. But I have a bad feeling about Ladarius Green. So I'm thinking if Ladarius Green, they find out that he isn't going to be able to go, I think if that Howard is there, although I don't think he is going to be there, I think he's going to be drafted higher than Pittsburgh picks anyway. So I don't think they're going to draft a tight end. But if that guy was there and you found out Ladarius Green was not going to be able to play this season, I would really think about it because from everything I hear, this guy is a machine both in the run game and in the passing game. But I think they're going to go somewhere defensively. I wouldn't be surprised if it was an outside linebacker.
I agree. I think they're going to try to get an edge rusher. James Harrison probably be back with the team. He said he wants to be back. The team says they want him back, so it's pretty much just a matter of time. Don't expect Jarvis Jones to be back. Arthur Moats and Anthony Chicklow, they're good rotation guys, but I don't really want to rely on either one of them as a starter. So I would probably say they draft an outside linebacker in the first round. Again, this all depends on what happens in the draft, who's there, who's not there. But they could really use that edge rusher, somebody to work in with James Harrison in a rotation on that side of the defense, somebody that could learn from James. They need it. They need a guy who can get to the quarterback. They picked up the sack total in the second half of the year last year, but Lawrence Timmons might not be back next year, and he was a big part of that defense going down the stretch. So if you have Vince Williams in there at middle linebacker, you don't really know exactly what you're getting out of him as a starter. So I think they definitely need to ramp up that defense a little bit, get that other edge rusher, put some more pressure on the quarterback, and get more turnovers. 2 years ago, they were able to put a ton of pressure on the quarterback, finish third in sacks, and fifth in turnovers, something like that. They need to get back to that. That'll help that defense get even better, and it'll help that offense because if the defense is getting turnovers, that's giving the offense a short field, easier chance to score. Obviously, it makes it easier to score points. Throw one bonus question in there. Yes or no answer. The Panthers released fullback Mike Tolbert, would you bring him in?
Sure, why not? Depends on how much money they have to spend. I know he's not going to cost a ton of money or anything, and it looks like they have a lot to spend. But I want to see them re-sign all their guys first, and then we'll go from there. But I wouldn't mind bringing them in.
They did re-sign, I guess, Roosevelt Nix, so that might be the only thing keeping them from bringing Tolbert in. Unless they don't bring D'Angelo back and they think Tolbert could be a change of pace back. But he's listed as a fullback as of right now. But I think every running back in Carolina is listed as a fullback. Even their quarterback's a freaking fullback. Good Lord. But that's all I got for you today. Fans, keep looking for more great Steelers coverage. Dash, I know you love doing it. Any questions or comments you fans got, hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. You can find all of our episodes at youtube.com/betthespread. All you got to do is go to YouTube and search the spread. We pop up. We be number one.